Last video we talked about installing the recirculation lid, and in this video we're talking about dropping the gas tank on my 1986 SPG. And in case you didn't already know, hi, I'm Colin. I'm almost 17 years old, and I'm restoring a SAAB. As always, before the beginning of each episode, we go over last episode's guessing game winner. Today it's going to be Mr. Austin guessing that it was the fuel tank strap, which is exactly what it was. Thank you so much for contributing to the channel, and congratulations. And he's absolutely right about it being a handful even when it's bone dry. We show some solutions to getting the tank down easily, but we made sure to clear all fuel that was inside of the tank before dropping it. Right here we use PB Blaster, which is a break-free fluid that we use quite a bit around the garage to make sure that we aren't cross-threading or stripping threads off of older bolts that might be rusted in some areas. Especially on the first step of this removal process, it'd be a little bit embarrassing if we stripped some threads. And after letting it soak in for just a minute, we go straight to ratcheting. With the nut being all the way down on the bolt, it made it really hard for us to get the socket wrench on it, and we didn't want to risk stripping any threads. Now that we use the ratchet wrench to be able to get the nut out this far, we can now switch to the socket wrench. But before we actually start turning it, we want to do the exact same thing on the other side here so that we can start lowering the gas tank down evenly. You can see we're just about at the same length as that other nut now. We're going to take the ratchet wrench off. I'm going to put the socket in because it fits now. We're going to start removing. Now, if your nuts are out, you can see that this strap is held on by this little thread here. And you can lift it up and push it out, but you don't want to grind on the side of where this nut stuck onto because you might actually end up stripping the threads if you don't. So you want a smooth exit with this right here. We're in a situation where we have both the nuts and straps down, and now the gas tank is loose. Now, this is a two-person job because ordinarily you want one person holding the gas tank once you remove the straps, and the other person, underneath working how to get this out, because you don't want to end up breaking this plastic piece, as this is where your fuel goes. Now, we have our handy floor jack here to be able to rotate the gas tank as we lift it out, as it's horizontal once you have it in normally, but since we're taking it out using the jack, puts it on a plane a little bit so that it actually slides out and protects the fuel filler neck.
Gently coax it back and forth with a little bit of backwards pressure to get it off there. We don't want to break the nipple.
After a while of wrestling with it, we realized that we weren't going to coax it off with the pliers, and so we decided to go to an alternative measure, which was lubricating it and seeing if we could slide it off.
Gas tank's out. I want to protect.
Here's a quick little underneath the car shot here of where the gas tank mounts to the car. The only thing that was dirty in this area were the straps themselves, so we ended up cleaning them and painting them. And besides, you can see it looks pretty good, so there wasn't any rust to worry about. Now it is time to clean the gas tank itself. As you could have seen in some of the earlier clips, it was noticeably dirty, and I wanted to change that and have, a fresh gas tank feel. The tools I actually used to clean my gas tank were 2 scrapers, a toothbrush, a heavy-duty cleaning brush, and your average grease cleaning dish soap that you can get from the store. The reason I didn't want to really use any heavy-duty chemicals was I didn't want to end up, potentially corroding my gas tank. Because it was in really good condition and it was uncracked, which is something I've noticed a lot in some of the SAAB forums, so I was pretty happy about that. And of course I wanted to take care of it, so if I had to put a little bit more elbow grease into it instead of taking the shortcut with some heavy-duty chemicals, that was obviously the better move. With where my car was positioned, obviously sometimes rain would come through, and it was kind of on an incline, so whenever rain would hit, it would gather in some spots, and then it would keep splashing, and soon, it became muddy, and the water would hit it, and it would, splash up and hit, whatever, the gas tank, the underside of the car. So my goal here with the scrapers was to clear any of that off, Of course, my goal wasn't to dig too deep with the scrapers because they were quite sharp, and I didn't want to potentially compromise the gas tank by hurting, you know, the material and whatnot. After hosing my gas tank down, it was time for me to move on to the reservoir itself where the gas sits. So my solution to cleaning the inside out, which had some spiders in it, I just kind of put some soap in there and rinsed it out quite a few times before actually starting to scrub it. I used the heavy duty brush and some soap to be able to dislodge any grease that was in there, and then I would fill it with water, drain it out again, and then I would come back for the final time with paper towels to dry it all off.
So one of the best uses for an old crappy soldering iron is to remove barb fittings from fuel lines that are connected to the banjo fitting. This is per SAAB instructions in the factory manual. So you can just take the soldering iron and you want to literally just hold it and melt through the plastic until you can see the metal. And I usually just lay that down. It's bent at an angle here. And I just lay it down in each of the barbs and melt it through until I see metal. And then I think there's 3 barbs on this one. And that's that should break that up. So you can see on here that I've got a little bit of metal on each of these places here. And that should be enough. And we'll just take a pair of needle nose pliers. It should bend right out of the fitting. It's a little bit hot. Twist that out, it'll come right out. So this is going to be hard now because it's cooled off, but it should allow us to grab it and pull that off. A little bit of muscle here, but it does come off the barb very nicely when you do it that way. I probably could have melted a little bit more of it, but this is the end result. Okay, so I use a heat gun to put these barbs on, which they can be put on with pressure fit, but if you heat these up, they fit a whole lot better. So I turn the heat gun on high, and I heat up the metal barb. Obviously, I'm using something to protect my fingers. That thing will slide in like a hot knife through butter, and it seals up, and then we'll tap it with a heat gun in the end and shrink it down. I want that good and hot. And then we hit the barb right on that hot. And we just twist it in. And that will eventually stay in place right there. And that's not going to go anywhere. And that is the easiest way. We'll come back with a heat gun, put it on low heat, and just come around the edge and soften up the plastic, and you'll see it'll shrink to hit the barbs here in just a second. A nice fitting. There we go. Almost like factory. Okay, so we're going to install a fuel pump. We've already put the primer pump or feeder pump on there. Wires are there. They float in the gasoline, and electricity, gasoline is not conducting electricity, so that's absolutely fine to be in there with the gasoline. First, this is the return fuel line here, and there's a little hose right here that goes up into this line, and we'll connect that, and then we'll drop the pump down into the tank. So I've used a little bit of Awesome as a lubricant. It'll dry up and go away, and it'll be nice and firm. So I now have this return feeder hose in here, and I'm going to ease the clamp down, put pressure on the hose down there at the bottom of where those two hoses come together. So now we're going to stick this down in here, and we need to also plug in. There's a plug on the end of the wires, and there's a plug right here, and there's a plug on the opposite side of this, which these plug into, and it's exactly opposite of this. So this will plug in just like this. You stick your hand down in here and push it up, and those wires are in. So now we have conductivity to the feeder pump, and the pump will do later. So the pump now just slides down in here like this, and it will secure just like this into the fuel tank, and we'll put a clamp around it, and that'll be that. So now we get this lip tucked over, and we're going to put the feeder, the clamp onto the rubber bellows. And you want to get this just about right here, because there's a hole here. If you ever have to take it off in situ in the car, you want to be able to get to it. So this has to align, and I usually do it at about 3:30 on the clock, because it will tighten up and go this way. So that's just from experience. So we'll tighten that up, and that clamp will come in and clamp that and seal that shut. And you don't want to make it super tight. You just want to get it to where it's nice and snug, and you can feel that the clamp is below the collar on the bellows. That's about as tight as I want to get it. So that's going to be nice and secure right there. Then we come back, and we've got a wire, and this wire will follow right through here into there. This wire plugs into here, and these are marked plus and minus. You can see the raw one is on the negative side. So we'll put that in here. And then the covered one goes on the positive side, so that tucks in there. And this little pigtail goes right here to power the feeder pump. So that's a pass-through. So that's how that all goes. And then this will sit just like this and come out here. We're going to tape this down here as it was before. You can see where the tape was. We'll tape this down. That'll come up and plug into the car's electrical harness. Yeah. The return line, it's already on the car, comes from here and snakes through this little hole here, down to here, and fits into this feeder here. And that will then go back down into the feeder pump, be reused to power the main pump. The main pump only pushes fuel from the feeder pump to the engine. The feeder pump is designed to fill that can that's in the main pump. And the reason they do that, so when you turn a corner, you don't lose fuel to your fuel pump.
Now, after following your regularly scheduled tips from Todd, that pretty much concludes the video after we put the gas tank back in reverse order, of course, as per the manual suggests, connecting the fuel filler neck and the other additions. Also, connecting the fuel pump to the harness was crucial because we wanted to make sure, of course, that the gas is getting to the engine. The way we did that was simply putting some gas in the gas tank and probing it with some wires to make sure that the gas pump was actually turning over and sending fuel to the engine. After fault checking all of our systems to the brand new old gas tank, we realized that all of it functions perfectly fine, and that is exactly what we needed it to do in this reinstallation. So now, that concludes the video. Unfortunately, in this episode, there will not be a guessing game to win, as I want to expose some monumental progress to the car that I am extremely proud of. As we finally got the Phoenix car to rise, I witnessed some truly amazing moments that I had not witnessed in 1 year and 1 month since the fire. I will share with you guys in the coming weeks exactly what that is, and I hope to see you guys in the next episode, and thank you so much for watching and continuing to support this channel.